How are we doing, everyone? Sam here with the player ratings after Man United's 2-0 loss against Arsenal at the Emirates. Trying to choose a man of the match out of that game is actually not as difficult as you think it is. Wrong tactics from Jose Mourinho, I feel. Certainly some of the wrong personnel. But how did the players that did play, how did they get on? David De Gea in goal, I've given him a 6 out of 10. I feel De Gea obviously couldn't do anything for Herrera's looped own goal that came from a Granit Xhaka shot. Could he have done more for the Danny Welbeck header? I don't think so, because Chris Smalling was way out of position, which was reflected in his rating. I think De Gea maybe could have been slightly better with his distribution, but sort of clutching at straws here. We had no real attacking threat, so there wasn't much to distribute towards. So I've given him a 6 out of 10. I feel Darwin, I've given him a 5 out of 10. He could have played better than that, and it's a shame from Darwin, because he actually has played quite well, I feel, in quite a few of his recent performances. But he should have closed Oxlade-Chamberlain down for his cross, which actually went to Welbeck for the goal, but he didn't. He lost the ball, and he didn't do anything to try and win the ball back. That was poor from Darmian. I feel like he should have done a lot more there. And if you're looking at Jones and Smalling, Jones, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10, and Smalling, I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10, because both of them did not do well enough today. It was a game where Jones and Smalling haven't had that much. They hadn't played since March the 19th, and that really came across. Were they even 100% fully fit? Had Jose Mourinho just chosen to play them to give a rest to Eric Bailly and Daley Blind? That's something we'll never know, but maybe they were. Maybe I'm being too harsh in that respect. But as I said, Smalling was massively out of position for that, ultimately the second goal, which killed the game. And Phil Jones, he was a little bit he wasn't comfortable on the ball. And you need players, especially away against big teams, you need players who are comfortable on the ball, playing in your defence. And Axel Tuanzebe, for me, I've got him down here as my man of the match. Not because, although his performance probably was one of the best on the pitch, across the whole pitch, in terms of the expectation that was placed on his shoulders going into this game, Tuanzebe excelled. Up against Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil, two of the best players in the Premier League, he didn't look out of place at all. Confident in possession. He knew when to come aggressively for a header. He knew when to hold back. His passing was sharp. Good interplay with Martial in the first half as well. Rarely caught out of position. And his recovery from when we had a corner to get him back into a position was spot on the entire game. So Jose Mourinho is going to be delighted with how Tuanzebe played. And I feel he should be as well. Excellent performance. Just like Timothy Fosu-Mensah away last year at White Hart Lane. He was excellent. Today is a performance where Tuanzebe announces his name as a first-team Manchester United player. Buzzing for you, well done. And for me, Tuanzebe and McTominay making their debuts in the Premier League, one of the only positives you can really take from that game. And if you're looking at our midfield, Michael Carrick, Ander Herrera and Juan Mata, I'm going to give them a sweeping 6 for all of them, because I feel they should have been in this game more. They could have been in this game more. Juan Mata, unfortunately, operated sometimes as a right-back, alongside Tuanzebe, because Tuanzebe then shifted in to make a sort of three centre backs, with Darmian playing as a left wing back, and then you had Mata. I don't know what shape we operated on at certain points in this game, but Manchester United ultimately sat way too defensive, so the attackers didn't get that much of the ball in at Arsenal's half. And Mkhitaryan, I've given him a 5 here, and I could probably give him a 4. Maybe I'm being harsh there as well, but Mkhitaryan was a little bit anonymous in that game. And that was largely due to the fact that we were playing so deep. So he wasn't receiving the ball high enough up the pitch. And when he did receive the ball, there wasn't too many options that we had. He's a type of quality player that you would hope he'd be able to do something individually and sort of break the lines through Arsenal, but he didn't. And neither did Wayne Rooney. For me, I've given a Wayne Rooney a 3 in this game. And genuinely, I think I'm being a little bit generous in saying that. Wayne Rooney has been on the decline for some time at Manchester United. For me, today, we've seen exactly why Manchester United, moving forward from next season onwards, can do better without Wayne Rooney in the squad. I'm not just talking about the fact that he got put through after a mistake from holding and could have scored and should have probably squared it to Juan Mata, but just his overall play was just shocking. It really, really was. And in a game where Mourinho decided to rest all of his key first-team players, You need someone like Wayne Rooney, who still remains the club captain, to step up, assume that responsibility, just like Marcus Rashford did at Anderlecht at home in the second leg, and just like he did against Celta Vigo, and take it on. But Rooney couldn't have done anything less than that today. It was a tragic performance from me. And another example of why I feel I'm correct that Manchester United have to cut ties this summer with Wayne Rooney. And let me know what you think about that in the comments. Martial, I'm going to give him a 6, maybe a 6.5, maybe even a 7. I'll give him a 6.5, let's be fair, in the middle. Martial was our only real attacking spark today. And it played into his hands because Arsenal had a high defensive line. There was space in behind. But Man United, because we then, after the first 15-20 minutes, decided to sit deep, we didn't get the ball over the top to him enough. There was so much space that he could have exploited. Rashford and Lingard coming on towards the end, we started to exploit it a little bit more. But by that point, Arsenal had a 2-goal lead and they could sit deeper. I just can't for the life of me understand why Man United did not try and use that space more and use Martial, because just like against Burnley, he looked dangerous in that centre-forward position. Now, for the 3 subs, it was Lingard, Rashford and McTominay, Lingard and Rashford, I'm going to give Lingard a 5, Rashford a 6. I think Rashford made a little bit more of a difference than Lingard did. And it was a slight risk, I suppose, to bring Rashford on when you think about how Mourinho's mentally set up for this game. He didn't want to play Bailly, Blind, Valencia, Pogba, Rashford either. But he decided to bring Rashford on, and he didn't pay off because obviously we lost the game 2-0. But it was interesting to see at that point he was willing to risk Rashford, but not at the start of the game. And then you're looking at McTominay. Came on. I think it's unfair to give him a rating, but I'm just giving him a congratulations. Well done, Scott, on making your debut. It was only the start of last season. He was 5'4". Now he's 6'5". He might be hard as fuck. And we did get him on a free because he came from the youth academy. So maybe that chance is going to continue further down the line. But fair play to McTominay. Came on. He didn't look. He could have had a goal towards the end, but the ball was behind him when he had his shot. But for me, Tuanzebe did not look out of place in a tough Premier League debut. And for me, that's why he's my man of the match. Let me know who your man of the match is. Let's read a few of your comments out here. First of all, where are we? There we go. Martial made some great runs. Absolutely. I like that. Anthony saying, knew we would lose. The signs were there. Rooney needs to go. The signs were there. The signs were there in the tactics. I've already covered all of that in my match review, so I won't go through that again. But who was your man of the match and who would you give the lowest rating to from that game? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you leave it down there. Make sure you drop a like on the video and make sure you subscribe to United People's TV. Ladies and gents, if you're new, as many reds here as possible. That's what it's all about, conversation, etc. That's it for the player ratings. That was a painful game, wasn't it? Let's move on to Celta Vigo on Thursday, where hopefully United can get back to winning ways, but that was painful.